Hello there and welcome to the Sheff United Way. And in between of two game weeks, we're going to have a little bit of a chat about our current manager, Chris Wilder, whether he's going to be here for the rest of the season, if we think he's the right fit, if he's going to be here next season, and what could happen in the future for the Blades and for Chris Wilder. So we've got Ollie on the line. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm not bad, thanks, mate. Feeling pretty chill, the way we do. How are you doing, Nick?
Yeah, really, really good, thank you. Excited to talk about Chris Wilder because he's an absolute Sheffield United legend. He's probably, in my lifetime, been the greatest manager we've had.
Yeah.
But how has he done for you this season since becoming the Blades manager again?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and it's a difficult question to answer because, like you say, he is probably the single biggest Sheffield United legend of my lifetime for what he's done for the club, for the way that he resurrected us from where we were. I think you've mocked me for it previously, but I think on Match of the Day I called him a messianic figure. And I would stand by that because I do think that we have sort of thought of him in that way. But this season, I'm not sure it's worked. We are better. Overall, over the full range of his games in charge, I would say we are better than we were before. We've looked
I
more like
agree.
winning, being competitive.
Would you realise we look better on the field? We look like we're playing better. Lots and lots of fans will say, well, the results aren't any better. And they have almost recency unbias, if you
Yeah.
like, and think of Hecky as like, well, he got us promoted, fair enough, that's all good. But there were a lot of games that we weren't in and we got nowhere near scoring a goal under Hecky. And fair enough, that's happened once or twice under Wilder, but I certainly think that we've been better under Wilder as well.
Yeah, I do. I do think we've been better. We can't ignore the elephant in the room, which is some of the home performances and that consecutive run of conceding 5 goals. That was atrocious, unacceptable, and a level of performance that none of us think is okay. Nobody does. But over the overall bulk of games, we've been in more, we've been more competitive, and we have been better. You look at games such as, let's say, Fulham. We deservedly beat Brentford. We should have beat Luton at home. We were competitive away at Villa. There are games where, even where we've lost, Wolves, we were competitive in those games, even though we lost. And so performances with the eye, we have certainly improved. Does that mean that I think he's done a great job since coming in? Not really. I don't think he's done a particularly good job. I don't think he's really done anything. I don't think he's really had time to do anything, apart from we've improved ever so slightly. And for what it's worth, maybe that's a tick in the box.
Yeah, I think if you think about it this way, that I think that there's a lot of games under Wilder and under Heckingbottom where one goal could have
Yeah.
changed things round. It really could have. And we've had a couple of results in recent times where we've thrown games away. Like you said, we've had some games where we've got absolutely hammered as well. But under Heckingbottom, the same thing happened. If we didn't concede a last minute goal, we didn't concede 2 last minute goals against Spurs, then that could have changed things around for Heke. I think the same for Wilder. So I think things could have turned around. Maybe it's the fact that the players aren't quite good enough on the pitch. Maybe the morale's really, really low. But it does look like we're going to get relegated still.
Yeah.
And I want to know, do you trust Chris Wilder to rebuild this squad and go again? Because you've got to say, Betty said it in his interview, promotion is what we're going for next season. If not top 2, top 6, and go for it in the playoffs. But everybody at the club will want top 2. Do you trust him?
It will. That's 100% what they want. It's what the fans will want. It's what the club is already talking about. It's what everybody wants out of next season. I myself would probably add a tone of caution to say that actually, in terms of fan expectations, given that the mental state of the players seems to be, in terms of just getting battered so regularly, it's really difficult to turn that round into a top 2. Also, Nick, controversially, I hate being in the Premier League. I hate it. I've hated every moment of it. There's not been a single weekend. There's maybe been two weekends where I've gone, I'm happy that I like football. I've hated it. And so there's also that tone of caution of, actually, does finishing second, do I have enough of a cathartic recovery if we come second to get over this season? No, probably not. Do I think that us immediately bouncing back puts us in a better place than we are now? No, possibly not. The one thing that I do think would make a huge difference to the club, the one thing that I actually think, not just the club, but I think the universe now, I think the universe owes us as Sheffield United fans, and I think it owes us to win the playoffs. I think it owes us a win at Wembley to go up that way. That's catharsis. That's what makes us feel better. Now, is Chris Wilder the man to do that? I don't know. I did a forward look video with Hal, probably a while back now, so you'll be able to go back and find it on the YouTube channel. And I said that I didn't think Chris Wilder would have the entirety of next season. I thought we'd have a poor start in the Championship, and actually he would leave sort of around Christmas time, similar to Slav. Slow start, really struggling to get it going, and he would then leave us. Therefore, he wouldn't complete the rebuild or be the man. But he's done it before. He has dragged this club up from its knees before. The last time we went down, we changed to Slav, and we all said, actually, if we'd stuck with Wilder, maybe he would have turned it around. He deserves the chance to turn it around at United. And this is the chance he should have had 4 years ago. So I've got no problem with us giving it to him. But I do think we need a change. I think we need to see something different from him in the summer. We don't rebuild for 3-5-2 going forwards. We don't rebuild to try and recreate the same system that's now just not doing it at that top level. So, yes, he can do it, but my head is telling me no, he won't. But if anyone's going to get us a win at Wembley, I'd trust him more than any other manager on the planet, because he would get it. He would get what hurts, why we'd be there. He'd make sure the players understood it. And so one-off game at Wembley in a playoff final, I'd want him to be our manager. So maybe that's the answer to the question. And maybe the answer is yes, he should have next season. And yes, he could be the man who gives us everything that we need.
You're giving me goosebumps here. A win at Wembley would be just the one. It would make everything. It'd make my life.
I feel so owed it for what we've been through. Honestly, the emotional trauma of this season, I genuinely believe that the universe and football owes us something massive in response to this, because everything's been rubbish. We've either got battered, and even in the games where we've got battered, they've taken moments of joy away. Like 5-0 down against Villa, we score a nothing goal, 94th minute, makes no difference. VAR, we'll have to take that one away, lads, because somebody's left testicle was offside. We can't be dealing with this kind of stuff. Like, they've not given us any moments. So they owe us one big one, and I think that's what it is. And I actually do think that if that's the way it's going to happen, then Wilder is the man to do it.
Okay, good. I like that. How many playoff defeats have you seen as in final defeats?
3. I think Wolves, Burnley, Huddersfield. But I did a calculation the other day. I was talking to a group chat about it, and I was looking at how many times have you, every single team in the country is part of this group chat. There's loads of different fans represented. The question was, how many times have you been to Wembley? How many times have you seen your team win? And I calculated that I've been to Wembley or equivalent, so counting Old Trafford for a semi-final, Cardiff. I think I've seen us lose 6 times. Go there 6 times, lose 6 times. And nobody else in the entire country had a record even close. Everybody else was like, oh, well, you know, I've been 4 times and we've only won 2. And I was like, you can get out of here, mate.
Do you know what? The only other team that I can think of that come close to us was Sunderland, and now they've banished those demons, haven't they?
Yeah. Well, they did it twice, didn't they? Because they won Johnson's Paint Trophy final as well there. So they have now done it twice, I think, whereas we still haven't got over that hump. So, it's got to happen at some point. Because, obviously the other side of it is that imagine how awful it will be off the back of all of that stuff I've just listed to do it again.
I know. I almost don't want to go. My dad said he's never going again, and every time he says that, he goes again. And you can't miss the one, because it will happen the year that you miss it.
The 1 year that I say I can't go will be the year we win. And part of me says, fantastic, let's just win. Do I have to be there? But I would never forgive myself for not being there. Ever.
No, absolutely not. Do you know what? I missed the 4-2 Wednesday win, because I'd just come back from, me and my wife went on holiday to Thailand, and I just couldn't afford it. And I'm like, I could have probably scrimped and saved and found the money, but there were that many games that I'd been to that have finished 0-0 and were really boring and were really bad. And the anxiety that you have when you play against Wednesday, I'm like, do you know what? it's not going to kill me to miss one. It killed me,
And it
believe
was
it or
that
not.
one.
Anyway,
Yeah.
let's go back to talking about Chris Wilder. So, do you see him being here for the long term?
I don't. It depends how far we think of long term. Obviously, in terms of football managers, long term might be 18 months. And like I said, I think my head tells me that this term that he has with us is around 12 months. He arrived October, November time. I think he will probably leave November, December time next season after a slow start to the championship. That's what my head's telling me. I want to disagree and go against it. I want to say that
Yeah.
actually it takes us back. He does the 12 months. All of that dream I've just outlined, I want to say he does it, but my head is telling me that's not the case and that actually it just doesn't work this time. I so hope I'm wrong.
So, are you now saying that you don't think Chris Wilder is a perfect fit for Sheffield United as he used to be in the past?
I think the Chris Wilder that we knew and loved is a different man now. I think
This
he
is
is
getting
different
deep.
to the man that he was. And I don't mean that in any disrespect. I think that what happened from COVID onwards with United was really painful for all of us. But for him in particular, you could see it week after week in interviews. The fans weren't there and he was getting more and more dejected. He then had obviously difficult times with Borough, with Watford. He's not had that moment to recreate it. And I did think when he first came back, he sounded like the same guy. He sounded like he got that mojo back about him. He sounded like we were getting the proper version of Chris Wilder. But again, the longer this goes on in the Premier League, it just gets to you. And I worry that that's where we're at.
Do you think that if Hecky would have had the full season, or if we'd have brought in somebody else to take over from Hecky, and then Wilder had a fresh from the Championship, we would have seen something different? Because obviously Wilder's actually taking the relegation that he should have took 3-4 years
Last time.
ago.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like Wilder's just going back into that, or would it have been better to have waited out and given him sort of the start of next season?
We had to take a chance. At the time that Hecky left, we had to take a chance. And I think that at the point that we were making that gamble, I believed that Wilder was the right option. I said at the time that I probably, on balance, I was thinking about other ways we could go. Who revitalises and changes the style of play? Who's a young up-and-coming manager who takes a gamble, who we work with long-term? But actually, we needed a change in mentality. We needed the confidence players. We needed something brought out of them. And he was the right man to roll the dice on. And we did get a reaction. We have been better. We can't say we haven't. We've had something of a reaction from these players. But I suppose the best way to describe it is I don't think any other club in the Premier League would have been gambling on Chris Wilder this season. I don't think any other team trying to get promoted out of the Championship would be gambling on him next summer.
No, I almost think he needs to. If it doesn't go well for him next season as Blades manager, I almost think he needs to kind of not take a step down, but maybe take a step down in club wise to like a Huddersfield or a team around here that are
Yeah,
still in a good position, but he just needs to kind of like what he did with us, where he picked us up off
yeah.
our knees and we shut up the table.
I
But
think I think there's a style of player and a style of club that will really, really suit him. And I think over the years, United have moved away from what we were. That sort of team in League One, that club environment, that mentality. He talks about the sort of attitude of players. He talks about that so much. When we're recruiting in the summer, we need to get players with the right attitude. And that's what he talks about so much. And I think that United actually haven't got the squad of players with the attitude anymore. I think we've gone
mm,
away from that. And so what would work perfectly for him is still those players in that environment that he can mould and just take on that journey. They buy in and everybody's running, as my dad would say, they run their blood to water and give you everything they've got every week. And unfortunately, the way football is at the moment, there's not many teams that are in that sort of group of teams. Say the top 25 teams in the country through the Premier League to those sort of next 5 in the Championship. Not many of them have that club culture, that group of players anymore. And so, yeah, that step back, I think, is sensible for him to work with the players that suit him. That's not to say that he can't make it work. I might look like the stupidest man in the world in 6 months. We might win his first 10 games of the season next year in the Championship, go off and steamroll it, and I look like an absolute moron. And that's fine. Done it before, I'll do it again. I spend most of the time looking like an idiot, to be fair. But it just, to me, we've gambled on his relationship with the club, his relationship with the owner, and his connection with the fans. And I just think we've gone through so much now that actually that doesn't carry the weight that maybe it did 4 years ago. He should have had the chance 4 years ago. I'm not sure he should have the chance now.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. My last question for you. Will it ever be as good as it was under Chris Wilder?
Nothing will ever be as good as that. Ever. It was funny. I was sat with my dad a couple of days ago. We sat and chatted. Obviously we have nothing else to talk about, so we just talk about United. It's easy. But one of the things I said to him was, can you, like, I was listing the things why I feel like I'm owed that moment. And one of them is that actually when it was the very best that it will ever be for me supporting United, it was taken away from me by something completely out of anybody's control. Well, apart from like something that happened in China. But I couldn't control it. It wasn't our control. Let's say that. And I think he gave us the best we'll ever have. And he will always be a legend. It doesn't matter almost what happens now. If he fails this season, next season, whatever, none of that matters. He's still the single biggest Sheffield United legend of my lifetime. And I can't imagine anybody will come close to that level because A, it would mean that we have to drop as far as we did again. But B, somebody has to have that special lightning in a bottle moment of creating something with a group of players, a group of fans that just went on the most incredible journey. So regardless of everything I've said before, my main thought is I still just want to say thank you to him for everything that he's done, everything he did last time. We are in much better position now as a club still 4 years later because of him than we were before. So no, it never gets better than that. He will always be the one.
It almost sounds like you are saying thank you for everything, Chris Wilder, and goodbye. No, we're not saying goodbye, Ole. We hope the best. Well, we hope the best for United and for Chris Wilder. And fingers crossed, if we do go down, if we didn't go down, oh my God, like to be party in the streets, like key to the city, obviously.
If he doesn't go down, knight him right now. Like
a Sheffield knighthood.
Anything. Give him anything he wants. He can have my house. Like, genuinely, if we stay up from here.
Absolutely. But yeah, fingers crossed, if we do go down, we come straight back up, and Chris Wilder is the man to do it because we all absolutely love him. Anyway, so thank you very much for joining me today, Ollie, to talk about the Messiah, Chris Wilder.
Yeah, the messianic figure at Bramall Lane, Chris Wilder. No, it's been a pleasure, Nick, and I think it's one of them where you can probably tell through the video I'm a bit 50-50 on what I actually want, believe, think's going to happen, but fingers crossed it just all works out. That's the main thing. Just hope it gets it right for Sheffield United.